Take a deep breath. Just let go of all the noise of your day, the endless notifications, the lingering worries about tomorrow, all of it. Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're looking at a piece of ancient wisdom that has literally survived empires, revolutions, and centuries of human struggle. We're going to unpack a fundamental principle that has the power to completely rewire how you experience the world.
So does your life's unpredictable twists and turns ever leave you feeling completely helpless? It's a modern epidemic, isn't it? We are constantly bombarded by external events. The economy, what other people think of us, the endless scroll of news, and it leaves so many of us feeling utterly overwhelmed. It's like we're just passengers in a car with no steering wheel. But what if that lack of control you're feeling is actually just a misunderstanding of where your power truly lies?
Okay, let's dive into this, because this quote from the Roman philosopher Seneca hits right at the heart of our modern anxiety. The sources we're exploring today highlight that it's actually our internal reactions to events that cause us the most distress, often way more than the events themselves. By learning to govern our own thoughts, we can alleviate a massive amount of completely unnecessary suffering.
So here's our roadmap for today. First, the dichotomy of control. 2, virtue and preferred indifference. 3, the myth of passivity. 4, the trichotomy of control. And finally, number 5, mastering your internal world.
All right, starting off with Section 1, the dichotomy of control and Epictetus's core rule. Our first stop actually takes us all the way back to ancient Rome, to a man who understood the reality of having zero external control better than almost anyone in history. His name was Epictetus. He was born a slave. In fact, his name literally translates to acquired or bought. Yet he became one of the most prominent Stoic philosophers of his entire era. As highlighted in our source material, Epictetus anchored his teachings on this single, foundational rule found right at the beginning of his handbook, the Enchiridion. He said we absolutely must separate the things that are of our own doing from the things that are not. If you want to practice Stoicism, this is step 1. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly how Epictetus divided the world. Within our power are purely internal things. We're talking your opinions, your motivations, your desires, and your judgments. Not within our power is, well, everything external. Things that usually depend on other people or society at large, like your body, your property, your reputation, your social status. The ultimate Stoic secret to happiness is making your well-being completely dependent only on those purely internal things.
Moving right along to Section 2, virtue and indifference. This is the Stoic value system.
Now you might be wondering, if external things like wealth and reputation don't matter, what actually holds value? Well, for the Stoics, there is literally only one true good, and that is virtue. Virtue just means living according to our rational nature. It's about having a soul that has achieved perfect consistency. And what's so beautiful and, honestly radical about this philosophy, unlike some other ancient schools of thought that thought you needed wealth to be a good citizen, is that virtue is attainable by absolutely anyone. It's a philosophy that appealed equally to Marcus Aurelius, the emperor of Rome, and to Epictetus, a Roman slave. So, the crucial point here is how Stoics view everything else. Things like money, status, or even your bodily health aren't inherently good or bad. They're categorized as preferred indifference. Look, sure, being healthy and having money in the bank is definitely preferred over being sick and broke. It for sure makes unexpected Wi-Fi outages a lot easier to handle, right? But a Stoic will never, ever compromise their internal virtue, their honesty, their sense of justice, just to acquire these external things.
Which brings us to Section 3, the myth of passivity, and why Stoicism is absolutely not selfish.
This is honestly one of the biggest modern objections to Stoicism you'll hear. People ask, if you're supposed to just accept what's outside your control, does that mean Stoicism is selfish? Does it mean you just passively sit back and endure terrible, unjust circumstances, or watch other people suffer just because you can't control the world? Absolutely not. No way. To prove this, one of our sources draws on the incredibly powerful life of Frederick Douglass. Born into the brutal, uncontrollable system of American slavery, Douglass is a textbook example of Stoic action. He realized early on that his abusers could not control his internal humanity. He secretly taught himself to read, exercising his mind when they tried to restrict his body. But he didn't just sit there accepting his fate, he escaped. And then he spent the rest of his life fiercely advocating for abolition. Why? Because one of the core Stoic virtues is justice.
Living according to your rational nature demands that you take fierce external action to help your fellow human beings.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it captures the ultimate mastery of the internal world. This quote is from an open letter Douglas wrote to his former master, Thomas Alt. Douglas literally tells the man who oversaw his abuse that he holds no personal malice, that if Ald were in his home, he would treat him with kindness just to set an example of how mankind ought to treat each other. It is a devastating, incredibly powerful letter because it shows a man who has achieved total control over his internal state. He completely refused to let his oppressor dictate his moral character.
Next up is Section 4, the Dichotomy of Control, which gives us a modern update to the whole shebang.
While that ancient dichotomy is powerful, modern philosophers have actually tweaked it a bit for our everyday lives, bringing us to the work of William Irvine. In his book, A Guide to the Good Life, Irvine points out that the strict two-category dichotomy can sometimes feel like a bit of a false choice today. There are things that just don't neatly fit into total control or no control. So he introduces the trichotomy of control, adding a crucial middle slice, things over which we have partial control.
To put that into perspective, consider the example of a tennis match. Can you completely control winning that match? No, your opponent might just be having a better day. So winning isn't in your total control. But it's not entirely out of your hands either, right? By practicing hard, resting well, and keeping your focus, you heavily influence the outcome. Irvine's practical rule for us here is super helpful. Your level of concern and emotional investment should be strictly equal to the amount of actual control you have over the situation.
And finally, Section 5, mastering your mind and applying this philosophy to real life.
Let's move to and see how this builds into a practical, everyday habit. Because how do we take all this profound theory and actually apply it to our messy daily lives? Well, here is a 4-step guide derived directly from our sources. Step 1. Reflect daily. When a challenge hits you, just pause and filter it. Is this total, partial, or no control? Step 2. Empower deliberate reactions. Don't be impulsive. Choose calmness. Remember, your reaction is literally the one thing you always own. Step 3. Embrace inner peace. Let go of that desperate need to micromanage the external world. And Step 4. Practice gratitude and acceptance. Be thankful for the present moment and just accept the natural order of things. This isn't about suppressing your emotions at all. It's about channeling them wisely.
I want to leave you with this final thought. We spend so much energy trying to wrestle the world into submission, don't we? Stressing over reputations, the economy, and other people's opinions. But the Stoics remind us that the only kingdom you truly rule is the one right between your ears. So, look at your life right now. If your true power lies entirely in your internal world, what heavy external anxieties are you going to finally choose to put down today? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and we will see you next time.